Fun in tabletop role-playing games, or why we play. Hello, I'm Chris, otherwise known as GM Chance, and welcome to Of Horrors and Heroes, a tabletop role-playing YouTube channel which focuses on tips, tricks, suggestions, reviews, and actual play. I touch on a range of different games and game systems on this channel, but devote most of my comments and the videos that I make towards my beloved Rolemaster. Really hope you find something interesting and of use in this video that you're about to watch, and if you do, would love a like, a comment, or a subscribe down below. Thanks very much. The topic of today's video is fun in tabletop role-playing games. Kind of getting to the nub of it, getting to the core of why we do what we do. Why do we embark on this very strange, and let's be honest, it is quite a strange little hobby. Why do we pour our time, our energy, our money, our focus, our thoughts, our attention into this hobby? Because it's fun. And when musing about this video and thinking about the types of people that might watch it, I kind of think there's likely to be two camps, two audiences, I guess you'd say. The first is likely to be a role player. So somebody who already plays tabletop role-playing games, or perhaps has played in the past and is thinking about getting back into it. And the second is somebody who knows a tabletop role player and who that tabletop role player is encouraging to think about playing this hobby. Could be a husband or a wife or a sister or a brother or a cousin or an aunt or an employer or a colleague or a friend or a whatever. For you, second audience type person, whoever this person is in your life, they've probably been saying to you, hey, there's this really fun hobby that I get together with my friends and do. It's a bit odd at times, but it's a lot of fun. You should try. And I can imagine from your point of view, you're sitting there going, strange shaped dice, imaginary worlds, lots of potentially Monty Python references and all kinds of other weird stuff. I don't know. What's kind of the point of it? And I guess this video is my opinion, some random guy on the internet's opinion, about why this hobby is fantastic and ultimately a lot of fun. I'm going to begin with a huge Captain Obvious kind of statement, something that's massively apparent to all of us, but I'm going to make the point anyway. And I'm going to make the point with beer. In fact, specifically, my current tipple of choice, Mr. Miyagi's Hazy IPA from Deep Creek, New Zealand. Now, they're not a sponsor, but they are rather good and they are rather nice. And I like them. So the point I'm going to make is, as I say, a very, very obvious one, and that is that clearly fun and what people get enjoyment from and what people get pleasure from is clearly all 100% subjective. So this is my current tipple of choice. It's a hazy IPA. It has kind of fruity, really strong hoppy flavor to the smell. It does taste, a little bit fruity and definitely hoppy, and it's kind of quite a solid beer. Like it's hazy. You certainly can't see through it, and it's very dark coloured, and I love it. I think it's a really nice drop. It's delicious. Others, however, would take one look, one smell at this beer and run a mile. They'd hate the taste. They'd find the hoppiness of it quite disgusting, and the fact that it looks, potentially a bit like what might happen with a urinary tract infection as a result, might be not particularly compelling for some imbibers. Everything is subjective. Everything is based on people's own opinion and what they think is good, bad, or otherwise. Kind of really, really, really super obvious, yes, but worthwhile making at the beginning. So what I and what my group find fun in our game is not what you and what your friends are necessarily going to find fun around the gaming table. But here at least are some points, 3 points in fact, from me of why I love this hobby and why I think if you're not already a gamer, you might too. First kind of category. For me, it's the permission, I guess you could say, that this game allows you to be a kid again. There are very few things, I think, as an adult or as a young person that allow you to go back to almost like behave. Play is probably the most important word here, less behave, but play as someone who's 7, 8, 9, 10. To run around with your brothers, your sisters, your cousins, the kids on your block or the kids in your neighborhood. And if you remember back to those times, run around, bang, bang, you're dead, or, wooden swords and all that kind of stuff, dressing up. All ultimately role-playing is embracing that inner kid, embracing that inner child, and putting some rules around it. So instead of bang, bang, you're dead, it's bang, bang, you're dead with a dice roll to see if it happens. But essentially, it's exactly the same thing, or it's very similar to being the same thing. And as an adult, or as a young person, as a functioning member of society, we all have roles and pressures in our lives, and we are typically not encouraged to play. We have mortgages to pay, we have jobs we need to go to, we have a range of very serious and adult activities that we need, or young person activities that we need to do. And there are very few occasions as an adult or as a young person where you're actually allowed to play and play as you wish. Yes, there are hobbies that you can do. You can go and play sport, and a lot of people love and enjoy a great game of football or cricket or rugby or netball or whatever. Fantastic. They really enjoy it. They get pleasure out of it, and they get a kick out of that pastime. Myriad of other pastimes that people could do, mountaineering to golf to stamp collecting to jigsaw puzzles to you name it. There's plenty of things that people do to pass their time in their free time that they're passionate about, that they love, and that gives them pleasure. Fantastic. Great. But that I can think of, there are very few, none really, that allow you the complete freedom, if you want to, and if you're kind of brave enough to go back to be that kid again. Video games come close. You can do all kinds of crazy and wacky and bizarre things in a video game. But ultimately you're going to butt up against a barrier in a video game, which is going to be the imagination of the designer, of whoever created that particular scenario in the video game, or even in an open world game, the barriers in that open world game. There's going to be things that you just simply can't do, even though you might be able to imagine it yourself. Improv, so back in my day it was called theatre sports, but improv, where you whose line is it anyway, where you get up and you feed off each other and you create a story together. I mean, that's kind of getting a bit close to this hobby. But there's really nothing that I can think of that allows you to truly go back to your inner kid and to share a story and to share your imagination and share what's in your head about what you see your character doing with a group of friends and with a group of people that you enjoy hanging out with. I mean, hey, you should be gaming with people you enjoy, yeah? If you're not, well, why are you doing it? That I can think of, there are a few other situations which allow you to be that kid again. And I think that's hugely freeing. And it's something that adults usually, as I've said before, adults usually don't get an opportunity to do. It's pure and simple. It's escapism, and it's a lot of fun. It allows you to let your imagination just run hog wild. The other aspect about it is the weird. Some of the stuff that happens, and you know, you can see up on screen the memes probably, stuff that happens in a session. It becomes your own little in-joke. Your group, your fellow players and GM or DM that run that session, they've created something during that session, and there's been some funny moments. There might have been dramatic moments too, or sad moments perhaps. But you've created something, and it's yours. And to try to describe it afterwards, you know, as per that, it's pretty hard to try to actually unwind what happened. It's like trying to tell a joke when you had to be there. So I guess for me, point number one, this amazing hobby allows you to be a child again. It allows you to put down some of the barriers that adults particularly put up, and let your imagination go crazy. Talk in a funny voice, dress in a funny way if you want to. You don't have to dress up, but if you want to dress up, great. But basically, just embrace your inner kid and have a laugh, and enjoy the weird. Point two. So I guess I'd kind of call this, you know, what people get pleasure from, or what kind of a kick they get out of the hobby, you know, problem solving. And basically just being a good human, I think, is why people can and do enjoy the game. So problem solving can come in a myriad of different forms. It can be, you know, a tactical situation where there could be some kind of threat to the party, and everybody needs to pull on their strengths and to act in a way at the right time to defeat an enemy. It could be solving a mystery, so gathering clues and figuring things out, but you're doing it collaboratively and collectively, and again, probably relying on the strengths and the abilities of each character. A myriad of different ways that collectively all of the characters can contribute to solving a problem or overcoming an obstacle, or ultimately working together. As mentioned before, you know, this is a collective hallucination in terms of a hobby, and it's that collective nature of actually each of the characters bringing something to the party, to the situation, to the combat, to the problem solving, whatever it is, which is really powerful, I think, and really fun too. Like spotting stuff and saying, hey, such and such, you're really good at the thing, whatever it is, healing perhaps, or reading a book, or driving a spaceship, or whatever it is. If you do that thing, my character is really good at such and such, and then building up an idea and putting the plan into practice. Fair to say, a lot of the time, the plans, the ideas, the wacky concepts don't often work out, but hey, that is part of the game. And the other point is being generous is kind of the way I'm going to describe it. And I think people get pleasure out of being generous in the game. And what do I mean by that? I don't mean being generous in terms of, you know, sharing an item or sharing a resource or something in game. I'm talking about the spotlight, and I'm talking about being generous role players. So a generous role player will hear another player describe something that their character is or does or how they're feeling, and then rather than sitting back and just kind of nodding and waiting for their turn for the spotlight to come on them, a generous role player will hear that, kind of like improv that we touched on earlier on, and we'll build on that and we'll give something back. Oh, so your character's behaving in such and such a way. Well, my character then responds to that and sees that and does this, and then they create the story. I saw a meme recently and I loved it. One of the best moments for a games master is where the party actually just do all the role playing themselves. So you can actually sit back as a GM and just listen to the great dialogue and the great discussion, and it could be anything from romance or dislike or intrigue or whatever backstories are going on between the characters, done well. We're a group of players who know how to role play well. They can get an amazing story going, and you as the GM can basically sit back and enjoy it and gain pleasure out of listening to your characters coming up with their own tale and how they each interact with each other. So yeah, point 2, problem solving and being a good human being. These are kind of things that people find fun in the game. Fun in tabletop role-playing. Point 3. What to call this? Creativity and everybody wins. There you go. So I've touched a little bit on creativity before. So it's creative in the way that you go back to being a kid again and you're kind of doing improv and you're running around and you're riffing off other people and you're being creative that way. Absolutely. But other aspects of creativity include things like the world building that takes place. So certainly I gain a huge amount of pleasure from this, and I guess other GMs and DMs and keepers and storytellers gain a lot of enjoyment out of developing their own world and coming up with all forms of different aspects of world building, from languages to cultures to whatever, and then crafting and setting scenes in which the players can play their role as the heroes, as the real focus of the story. So that can be that is a hugely creative endeavor and a lot of fun. And then for the players themselves, yes, there's the improv type creativity that I mentioned before, but there's also other elements. So creating a character themselves, yes, coming up with the numbers and the statistics and the stuff that kind of govern what that character is and can do. But then there's all the stuff around, where did that character come from? What are their likes? What are their dislikes? How would they react in a certain situation? What's their political opinion or their religious affiliation or whatever? A huge amount of creativity can be baked into that. And people, I think, a lot of players really enjoy that. And then there's the actual kind of pulling it all together and playing, where all these different aspects of creativity, from the world building that GM's done to the hopefully well-crafted or at least well-imagined character that the player has come up with, then playing in a way that solves a problem in a creative and an interesting way as part of the game. So hugely creative process and fun. People get a real kick out of all of those aspects, I think. The other comment about "and everybody wins," I know there's kind of a bit of a negative trope in the zeitgeist about participation awards, that kind of thing, where everybody feels entitled and everybody feels that just because they took part, they need a pat on the head and a sticker or whatever. This aspect about the game isn't like that, or isn't about that. It's about that, unlike other board games, a Monopoly or Snakes and Ladders, or all manner of other board games, like computer games, like sports games, there's winners and there's losers, and that's just part of the game, and that's how it works, and that's fine. That's what works. With this, everybody wins if a good story is told, which is something I love about it. Yes, a character may die, and that's obviously, in game, not such a great thing. You might have a character that you're personally very wedded to, and hey, the dice don't like you on a particular occasion, and that's it for that character. And that is sad, sure. But even if there is a character death, ultimately, if an exciting and fun story has been told, where everybody's had an opportunity to have their time in the spotlight, to have some laughs, roll some dice, and hang out with their friends, then it's been a great exercise for everybody. There we have it. Some thoughts by, some random guy on the internet about why tabletop role-playing games are fun. So what did you think? Did that strike any chords? Do you particularly agree or disagree? And I guess I'd also say, as I started this video by saying there are likely going to be potentially two types of audiences that'll watch this video. If you fall into category 2, where you've got someone in your life who is a gamer and who's saying to you, hey, you should try it, it's really good. Firstly, what did you think of this video? Was it interesting and compelling enough for you to say, yeah, okay, I could give it a go, or not? What I would say to you, if you're kind of sitting on the fence about trying this hobby, yeah, it's definitely weird. There's no doubt about it, and it can be a bit intimidating. Particularly when you've got a stack of massive role-playing books and everybody's kind of speaking this weird language, and there are these strange-shaped dice and all the rest of it. But ultimately, a couple of things on that. Firstly, put all of that aside and really just focus on that very first point I made about being a kid. That's what this is about. It's about having fun. And if you've got a good group around you, and if you've got a good storyteller, games master, dungeon master, they won't care that you won't know the rules or that you don't know the rules. They'll just be thrilled that you're there and you're excited to play. The other comment I'd make is there are a lot of games with massive stacks, yay big stacks of rule books that are thick and potentially complex and all the rest of it. If you're new to the hobby and that's kind of intimidating for you, don't start there. Go to a really simple game. There's a fantastic game out designed for children. It's called Hero Kids. You can pick up a copy online, the PDF, etc. online, and it's really simple. You can learn how to play, the essence of how you play, in 5 or 10 minutes. It just requires some standard dice that you'd normally have at home, and with that, some really basic rules. And within a very short period of time, you can figure out the premise of that game, which is the premise, pretty much, of all role-playing games. There we go. Hope you found that useful and informative. And again, to those that are sitting on the fence, go on, give it a go. It's a fantastic hobby. Cheers, and see you in the next video.